The United States has recently imposed sanctions on Chinese and Pakistani firms, accusing them of involvement in the proliferation of nuclear missile technology. This action reflects a broader U.S. strategy aimed at containing China's rise and limiting Pakistan's defense capabilities. Despite these sanctions, both Beijing and Islamabad assert that their cooperation will remain unaffected, highlighting the ineffectiveness of U.S. tactics in undermining their strong partnership. Historically, the U.S. has utilized sanctions as a tool for exerting influence over other nations, often framing these actions as efforts to promote democracy or prevent nuclear proliferation. However, this latest round of sanctions reveals a more self-serving agenda to weaken the strategic alliance between China and Pakistan, both of which challenge U.S. global dominance. Rather than fostering stability, these sanctions serve as instruments of economic and political warfare. The hypocrisy of U.S. policy becomes evident when considering its selective enforcement of sanctions. While the U.S. accuses China and Pakistan of nuclear proliferation, it largely ignores its own role in global arms races, particularly concerning India, which has advanced nuclear capabilities without facing similar scrutiny. This double standard underscores the U.S. objective of maintaining control over the global order while undermining nations that oppose its hegemony. In response to the sanctions, China has asserted that they will not impact its cooperation with Pakistan, reflecting a firm commitment to their strategic partnership. The deep defense and economic ties between China and Pakistan are resilient against U.S. political maneuvering. The China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC, has significantly transformed Pakistan's infrastructure and economy, largely independent of U.S. influence. Pakistan remains steadfast in the face of U.S. pressure, having endured similar sanctions before. Islamabad recognizes that its future lies in partnerships that respect its sovereignty, particularly its strong relationship with China. Over the years, U.S. policies have eroded trust, revealing Washington as an unreliable partner. In contrast, China has proven to be a loyal ally, offering military and economic support, without the conditions often attached to U.S. aid. Therefore, sanctions will not deter Pakistan from advancing its defense capabilities, especially as it continues to rely on China for advanced military technology. The U.S. accusations of nuclear proliferation lack credibility when viewed alongside its own actions. For decades, the U.S. has provided advanced military technology to allies like Israel and India while ignoring their nuclear developments. This selective targeting of countries like China and Pakistan reveals the true nature of U.S. foreign policy, a desire to monopolize global power. Moreover, Pakistan's nuclear program is a response to regional threats, particularly from India, whose substantial nuclear arsenal poses significant risks. Instead of addressing these imbalances, the U.S. has opted to impose sanctions on Pakistan, demonstrating a biased approach to non-proliferation that favors countries aligned with its interests. In response to the proposed Fissile Material Cutoff Treaty, FMCT, Pakistan's Deputy Permanent Representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Usman Iqbal Jadoon, criticized the U.S. and Western nations for perceived biases in nuclear policy. He argues that the treaty unfairly targets Pakistan and other developing nations while overlooking the nuclear stockpiles of countries like India. The FMCT aims to prohibit the production of fissile material essential for nuclear weapons, ostensibly to curb proliferation. However, Pakistan contends that the treaty is inherently discriminatory, as it does not require reductions in existing stockpiles held by nuclear-armed states, particularly those allied with the U.S.-Pakistan advocates for a balanced treaty, imposing similar restrictions on all nuclear-armed states. A genuinely non-discriminatory treaty would not only halt future production, but also commit nuclear-armed countries to gradual disarmament, thus reducing the global nuclear threat. Ultimately, Pakistan calls for transparency and accountability across all nuclear states, urging the international community to recognize that selective control measures exacerbate regional tensions. A fair approach to nuclear disarmament would foster mutual trust and lay the groundwork for lasting peace in South Asia and beyond. True global stability cannot be achieved through selective enforcement.